once again, class, okay? And I'm gonna call it handler, no. Submit handler, I'm sorry, finish handler, we're doing the finish button, okay? Finish handler, okay? Implements action listener. Okay, so just my doing this, you know action listener is a what? Interface, absolutely. Which means what? There must be something in there I've got to do, right? If I have interfaces, that means I've got some methods or something listed with nothing to do until I put that information in there. Well, there's only one thing in Action Listener, okay? And you must have this method. That's the method it is, action performed. In fact, all listeners are interfaces, okay? It's up to you to fulfill the methods that the interface requires. Most of them, like action listener and item listener, only have one, okay? Key listeners and mouse listeners are gonna have some more because you got more things you gotta do, okay? But anyway. Okay, so if I hit the finish button, all I wanna do is finish, close it out. Now, if you've been with me before, you knew I wouldn't let you use System Exit 0. In Java 1, you did anything with System Exit 0, I whooped up on you. Okay? That's cutting a program short in a regular old program and jumping somewhere where you shouldn't be jumping. But here, when you're working with GUIs, you don't have a choice. Okay? It's an asynchronous thing, you're listening to the stuff going on, you don't have a choice but to use System Exit 0 when you want to finish the program. Okay? So that's going to be our class finish handler. Okay? Now we've created the class that will handle. What we have to do is instantiate the class. This is just, remember, a class is just a template until I create it and do something with it. So let's come up here. Anywhere in here is fine. Okay? And we're going to say, what was it? Finish handler, and we'll just call it handler. Is new finish handler. Okay? So that creates me an instance of the listener. And the final thing I have to do, and if you don't do this, it'll never work, okay? You have to register the listener. And what you do is you register the listener to the thing you listen to. So we're listening to the finish button. So I'm going to add action listener handler to the finish button. Okay? Now, after you do a couple of three of these, the process is the same. You should be able to do them all. Okay? And just look for the pattern. It's real easy. Alrighty? We created a class that did what we needed. And right now we're doing action listeners. Okay? Then we came in and we instantiated one and we attached it to the thing we want to listen to. Okay? In Java, that's called registering the listener with the event. All right, let's save it, recompile it, see what we get. Now, what we just did when we said let's do action performed and all this kind of stuff, that's why we needed this right here. All these events that we're going to do now come from here. So you've got to have that in order. All right, so if I'm lucky, voila. How exciting, okay? So yes, our action event works. Okay? Now, I only put System Exit 0. You can put anything in there you want before you close. You know, say goodbye, hello, whatever you want to say, read files, write files, whatever we need to do. Okay? But that's typically the easiest listener to put on to close the application. Okay? So remember, we wrote the class, action listener, with the method action performed. We created an instance of it, and we registered the listener with the thing we want to listen to. Okay? Now, I could register it with the submit button, but then the submit button would close the program down, and we really don't want that. Okay? It would work, but it wouldn't do what you want it to do. Okay? Does everybody understand putting an action listener in here? It's not tough. Okay? All right. Let's do one for the submit button. You got it. We'll do the same old process over again. All right. So we'll come in here. We'll call this submit handler. We're going to do something. I don't know what yet. Hang in there. All right. All right. So let's see. If I submit something, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get the stuff out of the fields and do something with the stuff. Okay. So let's say that I only put something in the name field and the ID field, just for short right now. Okay. If I want to get something out of a field, and we'll just print it. I'll take it out of the field and print it at the prompt. Okay? All right, it was name field, and you guessed it, get text. Okay? That will get you whatever was typed in the name field. Same for ID field. And that's all I said we'd do right now, even though we have more pieces to the GUI to work on. Okay? Now, typically, as a good programmer, once the user has entered the data, and you think it's okay, you need to clear the fields and set it back up for them to do another one. Okay? So we're going to clear the fields, name field, dot set text to blank, ID field, dot set text to blank. Okay? And then the last thing you do is put the cursor back in the field. So we'll say name field dot request, name field dot request focus. Okay. Any problems? Notice our gets and sets, just like Java. All right, so we call it submit handler. I will do the same process up here. We'll come up and create one. Then we better, whatever you want to call it, I'll call it sub handler. And attach it to the submit button. Remember, the process is always the same. Okay. Create the class, instantiate it, register it with the button you're listening to. Okay. Let's see what happens now. Oh, I must have missed closing something. All right, let's see. Oh, I have too many things. There you go, too many of those. Cool. All right, finish still works, that's good. I'm gonna come in here and let's type Jones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I hit submit, oh, excellent. It got it, it printed it at the prompt, it cleared it and put the cursor right there. Okay, excellent.
Close that top stuff down just a second.
Sure. Which top stuff?
There you go.
Oh, this top stuff. This stuff? Okay. All right. Now, it's not tough to do GUIs. It's the same process over and over again. It just gets lengthy and tedious. All right. And the fact that, like, you misspell one thing blows it all up or something. But in general, the rules are real easy. Let me also state, we are just doing not even a spit's worth of GUI stuff in Java. You may think it's too much, but you can do anything you want. We just don't have time. Okay. In the real world, you would get you an IDE and you would drag and drop your GUI and build it graphically. Okay? Real nice and neat. And that's cool. But I'm not testing you in the real world. You got to be able to write some code for me. Okay? All right. Okay, action listeners. these, we created our own classes, instantiated them, and registered them. Let's create some listeners for little boxes up at the top. The add course and the add student. Let's look at our